And here with the sessions, the tech transitions and community traditions, a continuing conversation with Southeast Asia Music Academy Online. And like, even though it's starting from good friends of us, Gabriel Lee, who is actually, we met through one of the meeting from Yogyakarta Conservatory of Music in Indonesia, but at the same time, we had a chance to travel together to the northern part of Thailand, to Kalayaniwattana, even though with the same name, but it's another province in the northern part of Thailand. And Gabriel has been exemplary, very helpful in joining us, making music with the people in the northern parts and kind of like sharing music makings and performances. And those are the first time that kind of like he mentioned to me about this academy that he was doing and a lot of wonderful things that have been inspiring young generations to learn beyond the years of university. So here now it's really my honor to be welcome Gabriel, and he will be introducing his collaborators, a lot of collaborators here, Dr. Andrew Fima, who will be introducing the team here as well. So thank you very much, Gabriel. Thank you for your time and thank you for all your effort for putting these things together today. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. And thank you so much, Anotai, for the introduction and this opportunity to present at this really wonderful symposium. And we're so honored to be here to share about our work at the Southeast Asia Music Academy Online. So I'll be handing this over to our very charismatic host, Andrew Filmer, who is one of the founders of the Academy, as well as our Director of Curriculum Development. So over to you, Andrew.
Well, when we talk about tech transitions, the first thing I want to do is have a bit of a tech test. So if you don't mind, I'm just going to play this media file. If you could let me know if you're all hearing it. All good?
Yes, we can.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Thanks so much. Well, welcome to today's session. Thank you so much for being here. Selamat datang for all of my friends in Malaysia and Indonesia. And Sawadee Kap for all of my friends in Thailand, and hi to everyone else, I guess. It's wonderful to be here. We're going to talk about this idea of the great migration to online teaching and learning. So you've got suddenly a whole generation of music teachers, some who may have had 6 months experience before they had to go online, some who have been teaching for 30 years and now have to try and figure out how to learn online. And so that's where we are coming from with this talk, which is about tech transitions, how to move to this new era of technology, but yet keeping those traditions of building community. And it's a continuing conversation. It's not just our conversation today, but it's one which goes on. So I would like to thank Professor Bernard Lansky for quoting from my favorite film, one of my favorite films, which is The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And I would like to say that when so many teachers suddenly had to figure out how to teach online, they must have felt like this. They must have felt like, welcome to the island of misfit toys, which is a quote from that same film as well. And the wonderful thing about that quote is everybody, sitting in their homes kind of felt like a misfit toy, right? I'm trying to make this work, but somehow I can't get it to work. But over time, I think with the Academy, what we've managed to do is realize that, you may feel like a misfit toy, but welcome to this island where we all feel like this. We all can be here together. We all can actually learn together and progress together. And that's where, that's the thesis. That's the fundamental basis of this talk, as well as the mission of the Southeast Asian Music Academy, to improve technology, to give people options, to put things in people's toolboxes, all the same while building a new community with everybody being kind of locked away in their own homes. In a way, in Southeast Asia, because our pandemic has taken quite a toll, it's actually taken a lot longer for us to adjust to a new normal, to get back, to recover from this pandemic. That means our online skills have actually increased, right? I mean, we've had to actually not just think about being online for 2 months or 3 months, but now over a year. And with that, I'm going to actually hand this over to Gabriel to mention a little bit about how all of us got together.
Yeah, thanks so much, Andrew. I've been working really closely with Andrew, especially since the pandemic. Amongst many other things, he brought me onto the faculty of an online academy in the US. And it was then that we both realized that we could do our own, online academy here in Southeast Asia as well. And so with our three other founders of the Academy, Irene from Indonesia, Kenny from Malaysia as well, and Sylwin from Singapore, we all identified with a gap in online education here in Southeast Asia. And also the opportunity that COVID presented to create such a platform for learners of all ages from the region to learn from one another. And so in the second half of 2020, we started work on the Academy, preparing for our very first music teacher conference in November that year. And now we've actually been working together for almost a year. We actually just calculated yesterday, I think 7 September is our 1 year anniversary. So we are really near 1 year now. And we've only worked completely online, without the five of us ever being physically together in the same country or even in the same room. So now back to you, Andrew, to talk a little bit about some technology.
Right. So I'm just going to end this introduction by mentioning, well, first of all, we love this theme that the Institute has come up with for this symposium. So that's where we've taken both this idea of transition and tradition. And for us, the transition is the technology and the tradition is that of community. And we're going to actually begin by talking about community. I'm going to bring Irene over here to into this conversation over here. Hi, Irene. Irene is not only our director of marketing, but she is, she should be called the director of community building because she does that so remarkably. And I have to say there are things that she's done which I never would have thought of. Maybe it's because she's a much better people person than I am over here, and we've never met in person. I've met everybody else in person, but Irene and I are separated by this just small body of water called the Straits of Malacca, and one day hopefully we'll of course look forward to meeting. So I'm going to pass this over to you first, Irene, to please talk, before we actually get to the technological bits, just talk about community first.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks, Gabriel, for the introduction. And of course, thank you also to Anatai and the PGVIM whole staff for putting this together. So when we're talking about conferences going online, this symposium going online, one thing that why people go to symposiums or conferences, they want to get updated, they want to get plugged into new trends, but they also want to make new connections. That's a very, very big part of why people go to these things. And so in the organizational process of our conferences, we try to make that still possible via various digital networking opportunities. The way in which we did that was by our networking party, and to a certain extent breaking out into smaller rooms during the panel sessions so that people can meet each other and they can talk with each other, and they can also connect with all of the participants that were there. So a key part of making this successful was our facilitators. The role of the facilitator in the breakout rooms and in the networking party rooms is not so much to talk themselves, but it's to get other people talking. So, when you have strangers in a room, it's hard. When you have strangers separated by various 1,000 miles, all logging in through screens, it becomes so much harder. So the role of a facilitator trying to tie up these magic invisible strings between strangers and to get them to be friends and to get them to be colleagues and acquainted with each other, so that in the future they'll have more opportunities for themselves, more opportunities for their organizations, more collaboration opportunities. That's very, very important. So we spent some time briefing our facilitators and getting them on board on that vision of building community. I think that's from me.
Yeah, I found it so interesting that you formed these breakout rooms. And I really thought, oh, networking, that means we'll just have random rooms and people can just go and talk to whoever they wanted. But you had it in such a structured way, but that was also fun. So I think you saw just now from the picture I put up here, this is from one of the networking sessions where suddenly two of the participants had their dogs come into the picture. We decided to actually take a group picture with the dogs, and we have to include this is the closest I have to little dog as well. And so it was such an interesting way that I felt that had nothing to do with music, but it also had everything to do with music. It's connecting to people, and to build these new friendships over an online connection. Fantastic. Maybe I'm going to bring in Gabriel now. And he's going to mention one of the courses that we've managed to have and how it's not only taught certain skills, but it's actually also brought us into building that sense of community while learning.
Yeah, thanks so much, Andrew and Irene. So at the beginning of the pandemic, when everyone had to pivot to online teaching, scrambling to figure out Zoom, equipment, various strategies for teaching online, it was really heartening to see communities come together, sharing so freely on these topics online. And we felt that it would be so great to have each of our communities come together to share more in depth, relating to like even instrument specific strategies and more. And so we decided to put together our first music teacher conference in November 2020 called Teaching Music Goes Online, with the line in the brackets. And so we are so thankful that many music teacher associations in our respective countries were so supportive of this first event, like the Singapore Music Teachers Association here, the Malaysian Association for Music Education across the Causeway, as well as the Bandung Piano Teachers Association, and many more. So many music teachers had been working in isolation since the pandemic. And so the feedback we got was that they really enjoyed being able to converse with other music teachers, whether during a networking session or a breakout discussion, hearing one another share on common struggles, but also, encouraging one another in the process, and also sharing ideas that many of them, left the conference with renewed energy and a new motivation to teach their students better and in more creative ways. And so over our next few events and courses, we also expanded our community to include performers and conservatory students, parents, and also the young ones. So, with lifelong learning at the core of the academy. Some of our courses have been developed into classes for different age groups. So take, for example, our course on Diacros Eurythmics, which is conducted by Diacro specialist Jerison Harper Lee. We've already conducted 2 8-week courses on that for our adult learners. And next, we're rolling out 2 different classes for 4 to 6-year-olds, as well as 7 to 12-year-olds. And this is a really popular class, and I think we can watch a short clip on one such session conducted by Jerison to understand why.
Yes, and I'd just like to mention how interesting it is that, a course like this, a class like this would work so well, of course, with everybody in a room where people can move together and people can physically interact. And now we're all trapped in different homes, and he still managed to make this happen. So what we're going to see here is how he manages to get people to react to the idea of movement and music.
Okay, so we have fast and slow.
Yep. Thanks, Andrew. So as you can see, the class is really interactive. People are involved physically through body movements, reacting to the music. And so there's a really high participative element here. And this is something that we've been trying to do with our other topics and courses as well. We always want a participative element to keep our learners engaged and also to continue to build community. So let's take a quick look at some other examples, including a class involving some instrumental playing. So here we have Baroque specialist Alan Chu teaching a class on Baroque string playing. And he's playing the bass line for the class here with everyone else muted, but playing along to this same bass line. Thank you. Yeah, another really interesting example also was a Baroque dance workshop conducted recently by a Baroque dancer and harpsichordist, Tin Ying Tan, who taught participants some basic Baroque dance steps online with everyone following along at home. And so it's been a really rewarding process for us, experimenting with various ways to build community, whether through conversations or playing music together or even dancing together. And so this is only possible because we have such a wide range of experts in various fields here in Southeast Asia. And most of all, I think we really have something unique here that needs to be shared more freely and learned more widely. And I think we can all agree that is our Southeast Asian traditional music. And in my travels to various countries in the region, I've always been intrigued by the diversity of musical styles in this region, and also picked up the Myanmar harp through online lessons, as you can see in that picture. And so that is something that we hope to expand on here at the Academy to help share more Southeast Asian musical traditions to our communities. Wouldn't it be so great to cross-learn one another's traditional music and exchange ideas in the ways we learn and make music? So, and hopefully when it's more possible for us to travel again, so many new friendships would have already been forged online across borders, with the potential for so many more collaborations in this region. So back to you, Andrew, to start us about
Wonderful.
the topic.
Yeah, and we've all heard Gabriel play the harp, and we have to say he's a promising talent in that as well as so many other things. So yes, we're going to move to the next section over here. So we've talked about this building community, and you've actually ended on a really nice note in the idea that communities are based in identity and communities are based in culture. And through that connection, we not just find out who has a pet dog in their house, but to try and learn those intrinsic things about what makes music special in all the places from which we come, from which we hail. I'm going to bring us now from traditions into transitions. I'm going to bring in Kenny and Solwyn to talk a bit about how technology has played a role in what we do here at the Academy. So thanks, Gabriel, and we'll see you a bit later. All right.
Thank you, Andrew.
And I think I'm going to ask maybe Solwyn to begin.
Yes, thank you, Andrew. So much of the community that we have been connecting with have been in the classical and also the traditional music fields, and so much of this, so much of the tradition of this field is in live performance, connecting with people live. And with the whole situation we know now, it's we need to equip everyone, this whole band of misfits that we are all on this island together. We need to equip one another with skills to to work things out. So one of the one of these special sessions that we did was from on stage to online, where we actually talk about how we musicians are transitioning from the stage and physical lessons and exams to everything being online. So for that session, we actually had a call for submissions of videos from music teachers, and we offered to give feedback on these videos. So this feedback that we gave, the tips were based on our different expertise and experience to help these music teachers improve their home setup for themselves and also for their students, because like I think you know that most teachers would not have been teaching online, so they're suddenly in this whole new situation. And for ABRSM and Trinity, many of their exams, they have their whole like online exam option, so many people are taking the exams online now. So the areas that we covered included stuff like mic positions, camera positions, the instrument position, acoustics, even even giving advice on how to perform in context of a recording as compared to when you're performing live. So different things to take note of, such as ornaments. So maybe for now, let's just take a look at an excerpt of how such a session went. And we'll be very happy if you yourself in the audience get one or two useful things from this little clip. Andrew, please.
Beautifully done. So today we'll provide a few recommendations. I have one, and it's a musical one, but I suspect that it deals with the acoustics of the room. I hear the the ornaments as always being louder. We have to kind of think about the function of ornaments. If you think about an ornament as something that you put on a Christmas tree, it's something that's really quite decorative, but it's not the tree, right? So the tree is the main thing, and this is just a nice added frill on it. So I heard that come out a lot, and I really wondered whether that would have been different in a live setting, but it did come across quite clearly that every time you had, and it was the same ornament every time, it happened to be louder. I didn't think that was necessarily your musical intention. So that's one musical thing.
It's good as a clean sound. I think it's a good distance from the piano. So something about going back to what Ryan mentioned about the whole whether you're near the bass or treble. I do think that is quite balanced. So if you would actually be able to use an external microphone connected to your phone, it could be an external microphone, or it could be an external microphone that is for the phone. And the thing is about a phone microphone is that the phone microphone actually will compress your audio. And what that means is that it actually compresses your dynamic range. And this could even be linked to what Andrew mentioned just now about the ornaments, because so in a normal circumstance, maybe your softest is here and your loudest is here, right? So a phone mic doesn't capture the full dynamic range, so it actually compresses your whole dynamic range. It makes your soft louder, it makes your loud bits softer. And what that happens is it takes away the nuances in your playing, in the music that you are conveying. It may also result in making your sound more muddy, because when you play and then there are sustained notes, and in a normal circumstance, sustained notes are usually soft, right? Because they're just ringing out there. But because your audio is compressed, the sustained sounds just become louder, and that it might cause your sound to be a bit more muddy. So that's a tip on getting a microphone if you're able to.
I felt a little bit strange watching myself.
I was just writing in our private chat, look, twins.
Yeah, and so apart from that, we also believe in equipping musicians and teachers with essential tech skills, and we recognize these as 21st century musician skills, skills that everyone should know, just as how you would prioritize performance, aura, theory, or being able to change your own string or make your own reed. We think these tech skills are just as important. So we have actually discussed these topics at our conferences, and we eventually launched our first introduction to digital media production course recently. And in this course, the participants actually got to learn about recording, mixing, video editing, the software they need, equipment, fundamentals of audio and video, right from the basics, giving them a good, solid understanding so that they are well equipped to know how to do their own productions, even enhance their teaching setup, or even plan their own digital concert from the pre-production phase to the post-production phase, which is actually really different from if you were planning a live concert. So maybe just take a look at just a little short excerpt from one of our classes.
So we can have a bit more guitar. If you want to place the guitar on the left side, shift to the left. Now it's a bit more natural, because the guitar comes on the left side and the main sound is a natural arrangement.
So what we just saw was the instructor Sheng Hong demonstrating how from after you had done a recording of your concert or your student's performance, how would you go about editing this audio and mixing them, placing the different microphones in the stereo image to give a much more natural kind of sound. So apart from these areas, I think Kenny now will share with you a couple of exciting aspects that we also strive to cover and empower our musicians in as we adapt technologically as a community.
All right.
Thank you, Sowin. Over to you, Kenny.
Thanks, Andrew and Sowin. So I'm Kenny, the Administrative Director at the Academy. So I'm going to share about how we can harness technology in the professional development of a musician and a music teacher. The pandemic has taught us that being a good and skillful musician is not enough in this 21st century. We need to know and learn more beyond our own music making, especially when we are going online. So these skills do include digital marketing, social media management, presentations and communications, and more. Together with the team at the Academy, we curate and provide courses to upskill and thrive in this ever-evolving musical landscape. Professional development means more than just teaching music, and it's more about how we strengthen our roles in the ecosystem. One of the most important skills I would say is social media marketing. Some music teachers mistakenly assume that social media doesn't apply to them, right? Like before this pandemic. I would say not at all. If you are now running a teaching studio and you don't already have any social media accounts, you are not taking advantage that social media can help you expand your studio beyond your own country or your region. So at the academy, we see that social media has evolved from a diversion to a source of information and trust. Hence, we want to help music teachers to learn digital marketing principles to reach our audience and their audience to take digital presence to the next level. So maybe can Andrew share the first video of a highlight?
Hi, Sarah. I think I see you here. Hi. So, what I like about Sarah here is she is already very active selling your workshop and your classes, and that's great. Uh, and I also like that you are like already collaborating with a lot of people or communities. But here, what I can suggest to you is to I noticed that this is the program that you are offering right now, right? And this is also in your highlight of your story. But I think you can break this out even more because this is very worthy, especially for Instagram, that people are likely to like I cannot read this like here in Instagram. It's a visual first focus, so you can make, let's say, conductors program, like just one slide, just conductors program, and then you can make it a carousel. You can give it more post later to give them the details like, oh, the description and the program will include blah 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 blah.
Yeah, so the video that we are just seeing is one of our instructors, Raka, from the Indonesia. So he is a digital marketing specialist. So in this session, he actually shared on the tips based on the actual profiles of the participants on how they can better leverage their digital presence. Another important skill to have is definitely communications, whether it is in person or online. Having the versatility to communicate effectively is not just an asset, but also a necessity for now. Not just for teaching, as musicians, we need to communicate and interact with our audience always, and also with donors and supporters to get the support, right? So it is important to ensure that you get your points across and being understood correctly. The Academy also offers resources on these skills to help the community build connection and bring fresh air into the concept presentation. And now, here's Andrew showing us his skills. And thanks, Andrew.
And everybody forgets about it. Okay. But I bet you they will remember that there is a busy street in Bandung. I think they may not remember the name of the street, but they will remember that there is an analogy. So there is. And everybody forgets about it. Okay. But I bet you they will remember that there is a busy street in Bandung. I think they may not remember the name of the street, but they will remember that there is an analogy. So there is. So I think that's about the length of the video.
Yeah,
Kenny.
Yeah. So that's all for my part. Thanks, Andrew.
Okay. Sorry, there was a bit of a repeat with that video, but we roll with the punches, as we say. Thanks very much, Kenny. All right. So now that we've talked about the idea of building community alongside culture, and then we move to the second section where we talk about how that transition over there of into technology is paired with that tradition of community. We're going to talk about something which is well, involves everything over here. Is this idea of engagement, and I'm going to bring in Irene, and I'm going to bring in Gabriel over here to talk about how the Academy has placed engagement at the forefront of what we do. And the first thing we do is maybe we can somebody can talk about the idea of active participants, passive participants, people who observe videos later. Can I pass it to one of you to begin this conversation?
Sure. Well, I guess I can take this. So with most of our courses, we've always offered two options for people to sign up. So the first is active participants, whereby they will receive a certificate of not just completion, but eventually if there's assessment, they will be assessed and they will be given a certificate in that category. And they will also be they have priority in terms of asking questions to the instructor, conversing and interacting with the instructor. And so they're expected to really be involved, be participating as active participants. But we do know that some learners do want to just be in their pajamas and maybe even just watch the video from their bed, or just chilling out, not needing to keep the camera on and stuff, or even just catch up on the video in their own time and pace. So we also have this observer option for them, so that they don't really have to be turning up for every session. They can basically just watch the recording after each session, and they will also be awarded a certificate of audit. So basically, kind of catering for two very different groups here. Anything to add, Irene?
Okay, I think we can move on to, maybe I'm going to contribute something to do with not just engagement with our participants, but actually engagement with even our speakers, our keynote speaker for the last conference. And maybe Gabriel, you can talk a bit about how we managed to do this, was the world-renowned speaker and an arts communicator, I would say, Benjamin Zander. Could you talk a little bit about about that experience of actually getting him in?
Oh yeah, it was actually pretty at first, we really didn't really know what to expect. I was a little bit nervous meeting, such a high profile speaker for the first time online. But it ended up being pretty enjoyable, just talking to him, and he was so receptive to be our keynote speaker for the conference. And yeah, it was a much simpler process than we imagined, right, Andrew?
Yeah, actually, it was really interesting to talk to him. And let me just clear up some space over here for us to have a look over here at one of the snapshots over here from the session over here. And you see Benjamin Zander over on the right hand side, and everybody, you can see Irene over there. And I think the reason why she's doing this is to show her shining eyes, which is a big theme of what Benjamin Zander talks about. Now, for my side, I would just like to say that it was so interesting to have him over here. The difference between me and all of the participants for this conference is I've seen basically everything, all of his major speeches online. So I knew all of, we picked him knowing the kind of impact that he could make. And like many keynote speakers, since he's famous for something, he brings those things back to us, and we get the enjoyment of hearing him tell it again to us live. But some people are hearing it for the first time. For me, I found the material to be engaging but familiar to me. But there were some questions that I had for him, and those were things that weren't available anywhere else on the internet, right? Those are things that nobody has asked him before. And so I really had a good time managing to engage with him as part of the conference. And that was such a big thing, just like how we engaged with Professor Bernard just now. And that part of the conversation is I think, an equal part as any prepared materials that any of us speakers have. So this is going to be a little clip of me asking some things of Benjamin Zander based on his presentation. He talked about how positivity, like thinking positive, is a different idea than the main thrust of what he's trying to put through with embracing possibility. So let's have a listen to Benjamin Zander as he pursues this topic. I just have a couple of quick questions, actually. Earlier on, you talked about how there's a difference between being open to possibility and being positive-minded or just positive thinking, right? Does it mean that everyone who's open to possibility doesn't have to be an optimist. You mentioned Beethoven. He was well known to be like a grumpy guy. He kicked Czerny out of his house because Czerny came in saying, "I've got a new way to play your music." You know. So does it mean that you can be open to possibility and still come across as a pretty grumpy fella?
Well, that's a fascinating story. I don't think Beethoven had it clear in his mind that what his true voice as a composer was to be the voice of possibility for humanity. He also got very irritated with people's shortcomings. And I'm sorry for the people who worked for him that he didn't have that distinction clear. Incidentally, we all do that. I do that too. I know all these things. And yet I remember I was at an airport once and I'd given a speech to 1,500 people, and I went to the airport and the lady said, "I'm terribly sorry, Mr. Zander, we've given away your ticket." I said, "What do you mean you've given away?" "Well, unfortunately, it was oversold and we gave it away, but there's another plane in 3 hours." Well, I absolutely lost it. I stamped my percussion on the desk. I was furious. And then the man behind me said, "I'm really sorry I saw that because I enjoyed your speech." So we have to remember that we are actually like priests. We have to behave, all right? We have to behave. Beethoven didn't have that clear, and don't blame him, right? He didn't have that. He behaved like an ass sometimes. But we have an opportunity because we are educated in this way of being, and we're teachers. So we have an obligation, like the priests. They can't misbehave. Once they put on their collar and their black frock, they have to act the part.
So I found it really interesting that I thought he was going to talk maybe more about Beethoven, maybe about Czerny, but he told us a very personal story, and not one which makes him look good. You know, this is like one of his the kind of mistakes that he made, and how he's a human being like everybody else, that even somebody who is the person who is the prophet of possibility, you could say, sometimes fails himself. That's not something I could have gotten, you know, online. Most of, I mean, everything else that's online is about him pushing this idea forward, not talking about the times when he himself fails it. And it made us feel that it's all right to be fallible, you know, that it's all right to chase the dream and sometimes fall. So I really love that sense of engagement that we have, not only with our you know, our participants, but also with our speakers. And that made my day, and I hope that contributed to everybody else's. So the next thing I think we're going to talk about is Yinke's session and the idea of the blog, which is Irene's idea. So I'm going to bring her back in. Maybe I can pass it over to two of you to talk about this particular topic of ours.
Sure, thanks, Andrew. And yeah, such a great moment in that keynote session with Benjamin Zander. Really showed the human quality, even though, you know, we were all online. And so going on to talk about questions from the audience, you know, many of our sessions we receive quite a number of questions from the audience, and so how we do it is we often curate it for the speaker if it's a very large audience. However, sometimes, you know, due to time constraints, we end up not being able to cover all of them. Like in a recent session we did with violin prodigy Chloe Chua's teacher Inke, where he was flooded with an overwhelming number of questions. And because we valued these questions and we really wanted to help answer them, so we actually did a call with Inke after the session, recording his responses in Mandarin, translated it to English, and also converted it into a blog post on our website. You know, in a way to continue the conversation beyond the session. And yeah, so Irene, do you want to talk a little anything more about our blogs and how that functions as part of the Academy as well?
Yeah, sure. So being an academy online, it's very important for us to have many imprints online. So a blog is one of the best ways in which you can push out content to servers, Google, and everything else, so that when people are searching up your organization's name, Southeast Asian Music Academy or PGVIM or any organization, then a lot of entries will come up and they'll see that, oh, this is happening. It's not just staying silent. There's events and there's stuff going on there.
Yeah, or even if you're just searching about violin prodigies, or they're just searching about a certain topic, you know, then your website might come up even though they don't really know about you, right?
Yeah.
Okay, maybe we can move forward with Irene talking a little bit about how we go into Instagram and use that as part of our engagement strategy as well.
Yes. So with social media, Kenny touched on this earlier, you can really leverage a lot of opportunity and possibilities out there. Now, it is overwhelming. There's so many platforms. There's TikTok, there's Twitter, there's Instagram and stuff. And every platform kind of has different algorithms. They function differently. The people that are on there are different people. And if it's the same person, they sometimes behave differently. So if you're on Instagram, you would click on different accounts than if you were on Twitter. And so that kind of all adds up to the whole mysterious thing of being on social media. However, though, I would still say that the benefits, especially if you're an organization and an institution, the benefits outweigh the cons. So I will show some example from our social media, from our Instagram account, in which this is really great example of engagement across several different levels. The first one is Ryan Su. So this is our youngest participant at the last conference in June, and you can see Zander in the background. But here he took a picture of himself, posted it on his account, and then tagged our account so that we can repost it on our account. So this is a great example of a participant showing engagement on their social media. In that way, everyone that's following them and their audience will be able to know also about our event and about our account. The next one is an example of Jiha Naqvi. She is from Pakistan, and she was one of the speakers in the June conference. She was speaking on Pakistani music. So this is an example in which a speaker is very engaged on their social media platform with our event. So it would be, you can encourage engagement across all levels. You can encourage speakers to post on their accounts about the event. You can encourage participants to share their experiences. And the last one is something interesting, which is a giveaway that we did. Well, with speakers and with participants, they're already engaged with your event. They're already there. But with this last account, this is somebody that haven't gone to any of our events before, probably didn't know us before, but we hosted an online giveaway, a free ticket to Inca's session. And in that way, she joined the giveaway and she won. So she was able to be part of our activities and thus be in the loop of our community. So that's 3 examples from our Instagram account in which we really stimulated engagement.
Thanks so much, Irene. Engagement is the core of community, right? If you don't engage, then you just have people sitting in a room, not really. People sitting in a room, whether it's online or in a physical space, it's not the same as community, right? And I think that's going to be really important. So that brings us to the end, I guess, of our main content over here. But as Gabriel mentioned at the very start, we are 5 people who are now in 4 different, is it 4 different time zones, 4 different countries, and in 3 different time zones. Yeah, to the point where to make sure everybody showed up here on time, and including myself, I needed to go and check up all the different time zones and make sure to tell myself, yes, this is, yeah, the alarm clock is set to the right time. I'm going to be at the right time. So now if I could ask everybody to join us in this in a moment, to spotlight yourself in this, but we're actually going to bring up this next section over here, which is about what else we do. So this is just to show you a bit about what we do outside of this. So I'd like to first just show this little poster that we have over here, if you don't mind. Maybe I'm just for a moment just actually going to share screen for a moment, because I think this is actually worth looking at up close over here, right? And you can actually see that these are all different things that we do. And I love the centerpiece over here, which is So-Win, who has just moved to the United States. And this is how he's connecting to us with a makeshift sort of platform using a binder that's on top of a stove. And I find that hilarious when I asked everybody for a picture. That's the one that he gave me. And these are all other things that we're doing. Irene's musical, the last 5 years, Rondo Fest by Kenny, how Gabriel is reconnecting to the past with Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and me wandering into the wrong room. Perhaps I thought this was this is an orchestra concert. I guess I better start talking. So these are all different things that we do, and I'm actually going to now invite us to go around one by one to talk about the ways that we ourselves are keeping certain traditions alive while transitioning to whatever the new abnormal might be. Gabriel, perhaps I can begin with you. Tell us about what season you're in.
Well, being in Singapore, what other season do we have, right? Summer. So actually, coming up this month, it's actually pretty hectic month because Red Dot Baroque has 5 different concerts, 4 actually playing Vivaldi's Four Seasons, and I'm actually the soloist for summer. So lots of practicing this month. In addition to teaching, I teach at the Yongsu Conservatory of Music as well as the School of the Arts, and you know, with all these activity we have coming up this month also at the Southeast Asia Music Academy online. It's a really hectic month, so I'm just bracing myself for what's to come. Maybe next we can move on to Suin.
Okay.
Yeah. So I'm currently in New York. I just moved here, and talk about transitions, you know, it's so apt with the theme because as we are discussing transitions in tradition, traditions in transition, I'm here moving to New York. I'm having a transition my phase here, and I'm about to start my master's in screen scoring at the New York University. So and that's why I'm here in an unfurnished apartment, no furniture. The stove is the only sort of tabletop platform that's in the apartment currently as I wait for furniture to arrive. Also working on some other projects. I'm just wrapping up Samsung S21 Singapore commercial, and it's very interesting because the director, it's a commercial for Singapore and it's for Samsung, but their inspiration is from Thai commercials, so that we see this whole exchange of ideas and inspirations across the world. And Thai commercials are really beautiful and always so moving. So it's great for me to tap on something I've always wanted to write, and I finally get the chance to. And yeah, very exciting time. So I think I would pass to Kenny.
All right. I guess I'm the person who keeps on learning. So I'm currently doing my master's in business administration. And then what else do I do? I learn a lot of web coding, web design. So what you have seen in our academy website is a brief, like something basic that I can do, slowly developing. We have our new website coming up soon, hopefully. And then with the Rondo production, we just ended with our annual festival a few months ago in June. And then upcoming, we are obviously planning our next season in 2022. And for the rest of the year, we are working on some projects with different embassies in Malaysia, such as the German embassy and the Dutch embassy for different programs. And we always look into how we can preserve the traditions of our very own Malaysian cultures. So we want to work with local composers and see how we can combine local folk tunes, reimagine them, and also combine with animations. Yeah, and yeah, there's a lot more like we want to do, but we always focus on something that is relevant to the community. Yeah, so maybe go for Irene.
Thank you. So in Indonesia, I'm active across several music fields, in orchestra via the Bandung Philharmonic, and then also in musical theater, in which I'm an active producer. The last 5 years is the off-Broadway show that we licensed, and we streamed it online in June and July 2021. So we filmed everything and made it into a movie musical product. And then it was available for everyone, not just people in Indonesia. So that was definitely a plus. A minus is like online bugs and all that, of course, right? There's always pros and cons. I'm going to share something very interesting. So then I'm working on a new musical, an original musical now, which is going to take place years from now, because it's from zero. But I think this was a couple weeks ago in which I texted Gabriel. No, Gabriel texted me. He said, "Hey, Cardano, alternative coin just shot up. I hope you got your hands on some. And I said, I don't have any cryptocurrency. And then I thought, how am I going to rectify this? So the next day I bought some cryptocurrency. But so there's an upcoming trend in musical theater and in general musical industry, which is to make your musical file a non-fungible token, which is a way to fundraise, get money for yourself, make more income by selling it on the NFT market via blockchain. So actually, Kenny shared me this link when I started the conversation with him. And this is the Dallas Symphony Orchestra selling a collection of NFTs, which is non-fungible tokens. And then the next screen I'm going to share is an NFT market platform. This is OpenSea. And this is all artists putting up their musical NFTs on this platform, and you can buy it with Ethereum, you can buy it with USD and such. But this is something disruptive, upcoming, as we talk about traditions and as we talk about new things in music. And the way I approach it is, I mean, clearly it's being slashed, cryptocurrency and everything's being slashed right now, maybe still very volatile, but I'm mid-30s. And by the time that I retire, this is going to be big. So I figured, why not jump on it now?
All right. Maybe now I think it's left to me to kind of conclude this. And this is me wandering, like I said, into an orchestra and being in a very unusual position. They were playing Berlioz's Symphonie Fantastique. And my job was to actually come in before every movement and tell the audience the story of what's going to happen in this. And one of the things about classical music in this part of the world is that if it comes with a particular kind of story, right, that story may not mean as much to us in this region because we don't understand some of what is going on over there. I mean, Berlioz getting high on opium and then coming out with this story about him using the guillotine, the French guillotine, and has his head chopped off because he killed his lover. I mean, the psychedelic story of this is really quite something, and it has to be translated to our local audiences. So, and I'm sure all those in Thailand who appreciate all these horror movies that Thailand produces so well, those are very specific to our culture. So I started talking to the Malaysian audience about Pontianak and different types of connections that we have. The sound of the bird is actually called burung hantu in Malay, which actually means the ghost bird, which is actually so interesting, right? And so finding a way to connect to audiences by telling them stories. For example, Gabriel's about to perform the Four Seasons. What I love about the story of the Four Seasons is that the reason why it begins, Vivaldi's poem, the sonnets actually begin with how relieved they are that spring is here, is because you may not have survived the winter, because if you didn't have enough food, too bad, winter can kill you. And that's usually not the way they actually happen today, but that was actually just daily life over there as a farmer in Vivaldi's time. So finding those stories and connecting to people is a big part of what I do. I'm also an associate professor at Sunway University, and I'm trying to not only embrace this new era of online learning, but try to help my colleagues embrace that as well. So that's another thing that I do. But the funnest times I have are with the 5 people over here, and maybe we'd like to close by any tips or advice that we have for those listening. And maybe I'll begin. Well, I didn't prepare my colleagues for this, so I'm just bringing it on them. But any final thoughts? Please think this up as I suggest that a problem that we have with a lot of trying to be engaged today is that we spend so much time in front of screens, and that can actually be really, really taxing. So I suggest 2 different things. One is that sometimes it may be useful to actually just engage on the phone. And I don't know who you can engage with just on the phone, but sometimes it's good to actually take your eyes away from the screen. When you're on Zoom, one of the best features you can have is actually to hide self-view, because if you look at the research on Zoom fatigue now, a big part of this is how we always monitor ourselves. We suddenly see our reflection. We want to see our student, but we're also worried about our hair. Those of us who have hair, I don't have to worry about that. But we're always worried, is the lighting right? And and sometimes we spend so much time just worried about our own appearance and also trying to look at the student that sometimes it's good to just turn that off and just concentrate on communicating with the person that's on the other side. So learning how to manage that screen time for me is a key part of keeping my own sanity, and it's something which I do encourage others to think about as well. And anybody want to jump in with any final thoughts before we close this session? Well, if not, it's been yes.
I can jump in that case, and thank you very, very much for presenting us with this wonderful. I think it's just amazing to see how you are dealing with all these changes and challenges. And actually, I mean, you make me, even though we kind of organized the symposium for the last 7 years, but your symposium, even only with one season of things happening, but it's completely flawless. So congratulations for that. And it's really amazing, very smooth and a wonderful ensemble. So thank you very much for Andrew to be a wonderful host today for us. And thanks for also raising a wonderful topics about community, engaging with community beyond the screen times and all this kind of thing, and the ideas of cultures transition within ourselves. And I can see what a wonderful service you have made to our musical world, guiding people to make recordings, to be able to explain their music, promoting their own music to a wider world. So you're really contributing a lot. And thanks also for mentioning the NFTs. Actually, this is one of the really hot topic. I've heard it already Monday, Tuesday, almost every session. Everybody was mentioning something about like OpenSea and the cryptocurrency. So I'm gonna get one after this. And there's also another discussion happened in the ASEAN Youth Ensemble discussion yesterday, whether like, is it still, I mean, are we being a bit too much nostalgic to be hoping to get together to be able to make music again? And is it like, do we really need to kind of like maybe adopt and adapt to the new reality that this might be the way that we will communicate from now? And the third question is about the aesthetic of the music we are doing. Like, is that going to change if, for example, its new piece has to be commissioned in a way that is suit for online performances? Is the performance of certain pieces has to be the aesthetic of it? What do you think on this matter? I mean, how's that going to evolve?
Well, can I just begin by saying I found it very interesting that people have to adapt to recording and to streaming, right? So if you know that your ornament sounds fine in this room, but it doesn't sound fine online, so I have to play my ornaments more quietly.
Differently.
That skill of adaptation will be fantastic when you get into a live performance, because I tell you, I mean, everyone here, right? Like, it may sound great under your ear playing the violin, but if the sound doesn't carry, then you have to do something else. If you listen to the recordings of high fits, some people wonder, that doesn't sound good to me. That's because the microphone's right next to him. He's showing you what he sounds like. And that's not how the people in the audience sound like. So that is a remarkable skill, I think, that we are gaining from the online circumstance, that when we get back into real life, that skill is going to be there, even though the specific aesthetic might be different, right? And so I think that's a big part. But as far as the future of online, I think certain things will definitely be online. Certain things will be back in person. I think there will be a hybrid situation. I honestly think from a higher education perspective, we have seen the death of live lectures. This one-way format where you have to come to class, I'm going to talk for 2 hours. I think that's gone. Even online, there's no reason for you to do that. If you're going to have everybody meet at 2:00, there has to be some sense of engagement. Otherwise, you may as well pre-record the entire lecture. So I think that's a huge change in the way that we think about education, and also the education of music. Yeah. Maybe I can ask Gabriel to, or anyone else over here, to chime in for the other questions, the wonderful questions that you had for us.
Yeah, I think adding on to that, and also quoting our wonderful keynote speaker during the conference in June, Benjamin Zander, I think it's really about opening ourselves up to possibilities, through all these technology that's available to us. Even when borders open, how can we still make use of all these technologies that we've been using to continue, engaging with communities across borders, such that we don't always have to be physically there. It's so easy now to just, of course, I wish I was there in Chiang Mai on the mountaintops, having that cool weather that we enjoyed last year, but also so wonderful to see Arno Tai here so easily to connect while I'm still in my in my home here, so comfortable. So I think definitely it's all about exploring various possibilities even when things open up.
And since you mentioned possibility, and since you mentioned our keynote speaker, maybe I'm going to mention the keynote speaker for today's session one more time in another quote from The Perks of Being a Wallflower. And the quote is, "We are infinite." And that's the line that sort of ends the film. This idea, not that we will all live forever, or that our programs are going to live on forever, but the idea of both change, the idea of transition, as well as traditions. Those things are infinite. Right? We'll always change, but we'll also keep some things. And so that dichotomy, that pairing of transition and traditions are going to be there forever, and that's infinite.
And maybe just one more question, just for the people. I'm sure that, like, I can see a lot of young people or really young professionals now listening to you, and they would want to go and set up this kind of thing in their own respective countries, and maybe trying to together in groups together. It's really wonderful to see how you complement each other in each of the areas in music. And do you have any recommendation for them in this sense, whether they should all go and set up like academy like what you did, or do you have any suggestions for that?
Well, Gabriel put the five of us together, so I think he's the one with the secret over here.
Sorry.
Yeah, I think as much as possible, yeah, we always encourage people to build communities of their own, whether it be micro communities or macro communities. Depending on how what kind of people are around them, what technologies they're familiar with. Maybe they're more active on Facebook. Why not just open a Facebook group to share your resources on teaching online, that kind of stuff. So I guess it depends on the individual, but yeah, I mean, we're really all for community and connecting communities together.
I'm a part of a few different communities, and one of them is this community of violists in America, so the American Viola Society community. And I find it interesting that the ones that get most engagement, as far as I can see from my Facebook feed, are not the ones who are saying, here's my masterclass, or here's my product. It's when they actually ask a question. When somebody asks a very simple question like, "Hey, I'm having a problem with my chin rest. Does anybody have any?" And you'll be surprised how many people are interested to help someone solve the problem. So I think one of the big things about community is, don't think that you have to give people things all the time. Sometimes when you build a small community of your own, you can do it. It says, look, let's put this open for anybody to ask for advice, and everybody else can help answer. That's part of the community building, is about asking for help and not just being willing to help. I think both things are important.
That's a really wonderful summary you make. It's not about telling us what you know, but asking for help. That's amazing. Thank you.
There's a talk about psychology of friendship, and how people who don't ask for help have fewer friends. Because you don't allow people the agency to be helpful to you. So that was one of the things that's quite interesting about friendships as well as community.
I have something to add on that, if I may.
Yep.
I think this is an African proverb. I might be wrong, because it's one of those memes floating around on the internet. But if you want to go fast, you go alone, and if you want to go far, you go together.
That's nice. Thank you. Anything to add, Sylvan? I know you say odd hours for you. Thank you for either waking up or staying late for us with all the hangers and everything. Yeah.
I would say, if anyone wants to do anything, you have an idea to do an organization, or to teach, or a new way to perform, just go and initiate it and take the first step to doing it, because you will realize that you have a lot of challenges. You forgot to budget for production costs, you forgot that you need to get this or that and all that things, but once you take the first step, that opens the doors.
Thank you. Kenny, anything to add?
I guess I will just add on to what Suwin just mentioned. A very important thing that before you want to launch something, you must know what is your goal and your mission. And then I would say plan more than you expected. So do more risk assessment first. Yeah, I mean, always good to have a first step go on first, but you need to know what do you have on hand in case there's anything like any risk comes up that you might not like foresee. Yeah, so be prepared and always keep learning, right?
Thank you. Thank you
And I would say,
very
don't be afraid of trying something new on the day. I did not expect to be looking up quotes from The Perks of Being a Wallflower today, but I said, I love that film. I'm sure there's something good from it. and you have to embrace that sort of change. What no one else would know is that these four people know that I suddenly got a message saying that I might get a delivery today, and I had like a code word to tell them. Like I was going to at some point saying, Gabriel, would you like to deliver this next section? And that was the code word, like I got to run out and grab a delivery. You have to be able to roll with the punches and really rely on your friends to be able to help you out if something happens. And as you can tell, there were no deliveries yet. But if it happened, we'll be ready for it.
That's amazing. I think that's the base you can, it's not just misfit of the toys, but misfit of time and circumstance as well. So thank you so much, the Southeast Asia Music Academy Online, and Dr. Andrew Femers, Gabriel Lee, Irene, Solvin, Kenny. If you're actually keen to hear more from Gabriel, Solvin, and Kenny, they're here together with us again on Friday, I think, with the 30 under 30. Gabriel, you, even though you are beyond, but you are the core member of that. So please join in as well. So thank you very, very much for today. And that's a really wonderful and really inspiring to know that there's such wonderful transition you have made on the music world around us going. So thank you very much. And then virtual applause to our team here, and also welcome you to the next sessions. We will start again at 2 p.m. Bangkok time with keynotes from Sibelius Academy doctoral schools from Finland, from Dr. Michael Kenno, and also a set of paper presentations from also her PhD students, the interface in contemporary art music, also from the Sibelius Academy doctoral schools from Finland as well. So please stay tuned with us. And in the evening, we're going to hear more about the sounds from Northern Thailand. So Gabriel, I'm encouraging you to maybe join us in the evening session, because we will hear some of the recording from the north of Thailand, hear some of the sounds and the songs of wilderness and forest and trees. So join us for the rest of the days and also the rest of the week. Thank you very, very much, and have a good lunch. Thanks for the inspiration and the wonderful evidence of that. Thank you. Thank you. Khopun ka. Thai food next time. Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you so
much. Bye bye. Bye bye.